Good morning, everyone. I am really excited this morning to announce that our One Lexington strategic plan is complete. With me today from One Lexington are Divine Karama, the director, and Larry Johnson, Community Response Coordinator. We also have Brian Haynes, the director of the UK Community Innovation Lab, who has joined us. I want to thank Chief Lawrence Weathers, who's here with us, and I'd also like to recommend and recognize council members who are with us. We've got Councilmember Josh McKern. Where'd you go, Josh? There you are. Councilmember Whitney Baxter, Councilmember Liz Sheehan, and Councilmember Fred Brown. Thank you very much for being here. We also have with us our Commissioner of Public Safety, Ken Armstrong, back there. Thank you for being with us. So the One Lexington strategic plan has been in the works for more than a year. We partnered with Cities United, which works with 80-plus cities around the country, and the University of Kentucky's Community Innovation Lab to help develop it. We also engaged many other community partners. The plan will guide the direction of One Lexington over the next 4 years. We've already started implementing it. The recommendations made in this plan will help us continue to develop One Lexington and reach more and more of the program's target population, young people ages 13 to 29. The plan makes many recommendations that all center around prevention, intervention, enforcement, and re-entry. Developing young leaders, strengthening street outreach teams and capacity, and improving communications are all part of this plan. Many of the recommendations in the plan focus on partnerships. One Lexington Director, Divine Karama, and Community Response Coordinator, Larry Johnson, will tell you firsthand they can't do this alone. This plan clearly outlines the need for increased and improved collaboration and partnerships throughout our community. The good news is that we have already made progress. Divine and Larry have only been with One Lexington for a little over a year, or in one case, a little less, but even so, they have already saved lives. There is a 50% drop in homicides involving young people in this age 13 to 29 group when compared to last year. That is a huge progress report. I understand just how valuable One Lexington is to our community because I see it every working day. I know that One Lexington's prevention and intervention efforts are saving young lives in our community. Let's hear from Divine to get his thoughts on this plan and what it means as we move forward. Divine?
Thank you, Mayor. First and foremost, just remembering those that we've lost to gun violence and then continuing to support those that have been impacted. That is what informs everything we do top to bottom, and so we can't forget them. Oftentimes we talk about the numbers and statistics, but we don't focus on people. This year's been a rough year, but today is a good day. We have been honored, I think would be the proper word, to go on this year-long process of building this strategic plan. We have honored it from top to bottom. This is not a one-size-fits-all. This is not plug and play. This is not cut and paste. This isn't a theory that we found on social media. we truly honored the process of building this plan, not only using evidence-based research, not only using things that have worked in different places post-pandemic, but we feel that we made it uniquely impactful to Lexington. We had 3 strategic planning sessions that lasted over 4 hours. We invited the nonprofit sector, government agencies, Fayette County Public Schools, the police chief, the sheriff, the judicial system, those with lived experience, survivors of gun violence, and we brought them all to the table to see what we could do better and to get their feedback on a plan moving forward. And it wasn't just those people at the strategic planning sessions, but it was the weekly neighborhood walks, engaging the residents and those that have been impacted. It's all the community forums that we've been doing for the last year and a half. It's been hour-long conversations with community partners. It's been mothers calling me in the middle of the night who have lost their daughter or son. All of that has went into the construction of this plan. It is coupled with the evidence-based research that we feel will work for Lexington. Is it perfect? Probably not. Is it something that's going to evolve? Yes. Because the circumstances, the things that we're seeing in our society are constantly changing and evolving, but I think we got a solid structure, and I think it leaves us room to evolve as times change. What's going on with our young people is totally different than what was going on 10 years ago. And so I believe that this plan is a solid structure and foundation, but it gives us the wiggle room to also continue to evolve. One thing I love about the way that we approached this process was it would have been so easy to get caught up in the emotion of now, right? There were so many shootings happening. I remember the first week I joined One Lexington, I think 4 juveniles got shot that week. And so when you love your city like we do, like the mayor does, your instinct is to focus on now. How do we stop the bleeding? How do we focus on what is in front of us? But the reality is we'll be back here in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years if we don't switch that focus to some of the root causes that lead to the gun violence that we're seeing. What are the economic reasons? What are the systemic disparities? What about food freedom? What are all of the things that lead to the root causes? And I believe this plan starts the construction of a roadmap that gives us a long-term solution to this problem. But here's the thing. We engaged a lot of people in building this plan, but that is just the first part. Now we have to implement it. And a lot of what we've already implemented comes from this plan. Even when we look at the grant program that we announced last week, and the application should be done any day now, that is going to amplify the grassroots community partners that we need to implement the elements of this plan. And so though we've made progress, we still got a long way to go. And so we're looking forward to taking this plan on tour. Because we're going right back out into the community and we're saying, okay, we appreciate your feedback, but now what can you do to help us implement this plan? How can the police department, the UK Trauma Center, Fayette County Public Schools, those that have survived the cycle of violence, those that are still struggling, what can you do to give back to help us implement this plan moving forward? And so we are excited, we are motivated, and again, this is a document. That's all it is. It's a piece of paper with words on it. It does not mean anything until we, the community, put it into action. And I'm excited about moving forward and putting this into action. Thank you.
Thank you, Divine. So now I want to invite to the podium Dr. Brian Haynes. He is from UK's Community Innovation Lab, and he will talk about his work on this plan. And we're so thrilled to have you this morning, Dr. Haynes. Welcome. Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor Gordon. It's my honor and privilege to be represented here because a lot of times you see where everybody works indistinctively, but today, I think as Divine has said, Today's coming together to fuse community capacity in all of its strengths to pull together a plan that, as you mentioned, doesn't mean anything unless the community out here steps up and we work together to make this happen. I truly appreciate the hard work and dedication of Mayor Gordon and her team, the leadership of Divine Karama and Larry Johnson, the team at Cities United, and the exceptional community members, those that are the most important, who contributed to this plan. I also want to acknowledge the hard work and contributions of the little student researchers in the Community Innovation Lab who also assisted in making this plan happen. It's been a great pleasure to collaborate on a strategic plan that will directly reduce youth and young adult gun violence in our community. This initiative strengthens university, civic, and community partnerships, which absolutely are critical to success in this capacity. And it provides a solid foundation for long-term and collective impact. As one who focuses extensively on community development, I'm thrilled to witness the unprecedented solidarity. I've been here a long time, and I've not seen the solidarity around such an initiative as this one. And community input and community commitment, longitudinal. It will substantially reduce gun violence in Lexington over the next several years. We now look to the future as we roll up our sleeves. The easy work has been done, the hard work is ahead. So let's roll up our sleeves and engage together in a community plan with community to further reduce gun violence in Lexington. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Haynes. I will say that over the last 4 years, our partnerships with the university have been rock solid, and we're thrilled that they are also our partner on this initiative. So with that, we'll open up for questions, and we have a few people here who can answer. Yeah, go ahead and ask. You have one for Divine? All right. Come on.
I'm just wondering if the reduction in youth homicide is the tangible evidence that leads you to believe that, yeah, it's important.
You know, the last time you asked me that question, you know it happened, right? May happen. No, I'm just, it's not just one Lexington, it's our community partners, really. I think that, and I believe, you know, with all due respect to the process, right? I know we have election coming up, but I think we'll become even more united after this election. I just think anything in community is going to be better when we're all in. And I think the progress that we've seen so far this year, I think that that's all of our community partners coming to the table. I think Brian said it perfectly. I think through the mayor's leadership, we've just been able to make more and more partnerships. It's the people that are not up here. It's the OMACs, it's the MAID, it's the PALs, it's the Kids Make It, it's all the organizations who aren't up here at this press conference, but they're the ones that's truly making this happen, and we just want to be the organization that amplifies their efforts. So we are encouraged, but there's still a long way to go, and we hope this could be a framework for other things and other trends that we're seeing as far as violent crime.
Can you share a bit of the specifics about what is so different in this plan compared to what we have been doing over these past years? And as a follow-up to that, Mayor, considering the time of the year that it is, the plan that's been proposed by your opponent, Councilman Coiber, how different is this compared to GBI?
So I'll answer the first part. I've been in Lexington my entire life, and we've never seen this kind of unified effort or approach specifically to gun violence, ever. We've never had an official need for street outreach workers because we've never seen the level of violence that we're seeing now. And so pretty much everything that we are engaging in now is very different from years past. I think one thing that we did have years ago that I think this plan can hopefully help to jumpstart, and we're seeing a lot of attention being paid, is the root causes. I do believe we had some things in place in city government and in the community that focused on root causes, right? It might not have been gun violence, but it was certainly things and circumstances that could lead to that. And so I think a lot of what we're doing is innovative and new.
Yeah, thank Thank you. This is, so you referenced GVI, which is an old program that's been around quite a while, which has been used in the past by many cities. And just a couple of things about that, and then I want to compare it. You asked me to compare it. So when we had our assessment by the National Safe Cities group that came in here under the previous mayor, they assessed our group violence and gave us 6 recommendations. And on that assessment, Lexington rated the lowest it could rate on whether we had group violence here. So we were really right at the bottom of that scale, and they admitted this, that we really didn't have a lot of group violence here. Now, of those 6 recommendations, we have implemented 5 of them. And so contrasting that with what we're doing now, and many of the cities that have used GVI in the past now don't use it, because many of them, through our research, which was pretty thorough, found that they were using it, but the homicides were still rising. This One Lexington program, as well as much of what we do with our community policing, is about what we're calling CVI, Community Violence Intervention. This is more of a newer focus for the Department of Justice, because we realize it's about community. And so you heard Divine speak really well about how this is going to work with community involvement. You know, no city can do this without the community and the partnerships and what that will mean to us in terms of reducing gun violence. So it's a very different way to look at things. We think that what we're doing is very tailor-made for Lexington. Of course. Larry, come
I'd like to also add, I've been a part of our violence efforts, violence intervention and prevention efforts over the last 23 years.
Long time.
One of the new things that we're really doing, and as Divine said, is evidence-based, is we are focusing on a trauma-informed care approach. You will see, those of you who were looking at our grants and got some of that language, we're focusing on young people who have been directly affected by gun violence, either in the home, in their community, and those that are young people, children of parents who's been incarcerated. So we've known for years that it was important to look at that, but we didn't have the approaches. But through evidence-based approaches and through our work with the university and others, we are very focused on a trauma-informed care approach for those who we know have been directly affected by violence in the home, bullying, those on the streets, those that have been affected by gun violence, and those who have parents who have been incarcerated. So that's a different approach, and it's an intentional approach, and it's one that we're sure is going to have an impact.
Thank you. What other questions do you have? Anything for Dr. Haynes? Not to call you out, but he has a totally different, expertise here. All right, thank you all very much for being here. Thank you so much. Thanks. Here we go.
Up and running.
Yeah, up and running.